I'd probably set her here or somewhere in here so I could use the lines of the wall, plus make it kind of simplistic, plus have kind of a simplified background if I use shallow depth of field to shoot her there. And it's great light today. This is great light because it's nice and soft. If you look at my face as I'm standing here, it's creating a nice highlight on one side, soft shadows on the other. I'm getting some reflected light from the walls, and so this is actually pretty good light to shoot without this, so I'm trying to create some difficult lighting scenarios right now. Okay. So I'm setting her up backlit because if I shoot this normally,
What do you want me to do?
she doesn't look particularly great. It is firing that. I'll move you in just a moment.
I didn't feel nothing.
You don't feel it?
And she looks okay, because again, there's a certain amount of light bouncing off of things, but most of it's hitting like right up here and creating weird shadows down in here, so it's not particularly flattering. So what I'm going to do, also, if we look at the background, come on in here. If we look at the background is bright too. And so she's kind of blending in, and I want to be able to manipulate this in such a way that I can play with what the background looks like. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull this off of auto, which is what it was on. I'm going to set my shutter speed to 1/250th of a second because I'm going to try and darken the background. My ISO is as low as it will go right now, and my aperture is going as high as it will go. And point the light that way. I don't want to fire it just away from her. And not at the background because it's going to affect my shot. So point it that way.
Write it down.
Shoot Danny. All right. So I'm going to take another shot of Kenna without the strobe, and I was successfully able to make her disappear.
Oh, great.
Right? It's virtually black, and we're outside in the sun. Now, I wouldn't be able to do that on a really bright sunshiny day. Even these settings would probably still result in some kind of light or exposure. So we're just lucky that today it's kind of cloudy, and so I am able to make it black. Okay, so now I can start to adjust my exposure, so continue to not point it towards her. So I'm going to continue to adjust my exposure. Now, ambient light is affected by shutter speed, so I'm going to go ahead and drop my shutter speed a little bit more to let more light in. I'm going to drop my aperture a little bit to let more light in, and we're going to shoot again. Okay, I'm starting to get a little bit of background light in there. So we can see the exposure starting to raise, right? But I want a little bit more than that, so I'm going to shoot to 8. Nice. Work it. Okay. So I like the exposure of the background now, right? And she's really, really underexposed. So I'm happy with how dark the background is, and now I want to add my light source for her. Okay? So I'm going to set Brody, the holder of the light, right about here. Here. There you go. Okay. So if we look at this, now I'm being able to control the light on her and control the light in the background, because that light isn't traveling far enough to hit the background, so it's going to stay the same, but it's hitting her just fine, right? So I can easily do any one of my lighting setups, so Brody kind of stand behind me and aim it kind of top down for her. It's always best if you have an assistant like Brody, because then you can move your light a lot easier.
I want to see it.
Okay, so I'm getting a little bit of that butterfly light kind of look, right? And if I wanted to add a reflector, I would need another assistant, something like that, right? I can certainly soften this light a little bit more. Currently it's at full power, and the fact that he moved closer made it brighter. So now my exposure is making her a little bit too bright. So what I could do is either turn that down or adjust my exposure again. She's too bright with the flash. I can adjust my exposure to say 16, my aperture is 16, or I can also adjust my shutter speed, which is going to be problematic because I just made the background darker with the aperture. Now I can make it brighter with the shutter speed, but the shutter speed will not make that brighter. Okay?
Oh, look at that.
Try again. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So I would need to play with it a little bit more. She's a little bit dark in there, but I'm getting closer to the sort of light that I'm looking for in the shot. Okay? So that's creating a mixture of background and strobe light. I want to move one more position so we can kind of play with seeing what the light looks like. So we're going to move to the hallway. See you in a moment. Click it out.
How do I stop?
Ian, you're doing great. All right. I wanted to play with the skylights, but that's all right. All right, kind of go ahead and stand on class of 1984.
So there's a wall over there.
I was 9 years old. Okay.
How do I get?
Come this way. Come this way. Come this way. Now, what I might do.
Like classes.
Let me see. I'm gonna try to create a look here. If I could get you all to sort of stand kind of around but away from Kenna, so everyone kind of filling around here. Lauren, thank you. Lauren,
So I could be there. I could come back. Nah, imagine they demo the school.
Yeah, this way. Come on. I think you're getting out of this. Come on. Over here. Joseph, Dan, come on. Okay. So, your goal is to hold this over her only. Okay. I'm going to extend this so you can get out of my shot. Okay, so it's going to be kind of like a boom mic. You're trying to hit her only, like that.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay?
Yep.
Don't hit her in the head. All right. So let's get tighter in here around her. Just don't get close enough. You may have to come up just a little bit. Tighter. This way. Look at me. Come towards me. Right there. Closer. Right there. Closer. That's
You're shaking.
all right.
This place is
That'll work out.
Okay, so I'm going to adjust my exposure here. Then it goes to tighter.
Okay.
More. There we go.
I'm in the shot.
Here we go. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to shut off the strobe. I'm going to set my exposure for the background. Okay? So, background's too dark. I sort of want to see you guys, but I'm trying to highlight Kenna in the middle of this crowd. Right?
Good, bro. Here. You're going to do it. Yeah, just do it.
Danny,
Yes.
there you go, Danny. Get used to it, Brody.
It's okay, man.
It's okay.
So you need to like
Like higher.
Oh, like this.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
How are we doing in that? Okay. Good.
So I'm continuing to play with my settings here. All right. That's about where I want it. So I've adjusted my exposure so I have you guys about where I want you. Now I'm going to add the strobe to it. So I'm going to kick my remote back on. Danny, can you lift it up higher?
Like past the.
So you have to, yeah, like that.
all the way back.
Yeah, and if you could lift this hand.
Oh.
There you go. Perfect. Okay. So we are where I want it to be, and boom. Okay. The strobe's a little bit bright for me, so I'm gonna adjust my settings a little bit. Adjust my strobe down.
Danny, you need a pump.
Good. All right, that's looking good. Okay, so go ahead and shut it off. We're gonna head to